subject. What is classic farmhouse style? Since the popularity of farmhouse style, it has really just branched off and gone into so many different directions, and it just seems like there's a label for so many different design styles with the name farmhouse. You know, like rustic farmhouse, modern farmhouse, industrial farmhouse. Um, just there's just numerous ones, and it gets, I think, a little confusing as to what farmhouse style actually is. And so I thought we would talk about that today. Um, in my opinion, farmhouse style has been around forever. And farmhouse style just really represents a way of life that has, been around pretty much forever. What I think of as farmhouse style started like with the settlers, the American settlers that moved west and had to build homes, and they built them more for function than style, and they might have started out really small, actually similar to the one that my husband and I just built. This would have been kind of the style of a first home that a settler might have built. As life went on, as their families grew, they would add on to the house or build another house. And it was just, their house became so much just a part of their family. It could be passed down for generations. Most farmhouses stayed in the family for, years to come. And so anyway, that's kind of how I feel, when I think of farmhouse style. That's what I feel and think about. How it was a way of life. They had the farm, they had their farm animals that they had to take care of, they had cows to milk and eggs to gather, and gardens to plant and grow, and then they had to can and prepare the storage of the foods that they grew. And it was just such a lifestyle that in a way we've really gotten away from over the years. In more and more recent years, yes, we still have farmers who farm large plots of land and provide food for our country, for the grocery stores and that we can purchase. But as far as the number of people who actually live the way that pretty much everyone used to live is just really gone down. It's almost now a choice to live that way, to want to live like a homesteading or a farm type of lifestyle. And so I'm glad that it isn't completely lost, though. But that is what the farmhouse style means to me, and what I try to evoke in my house. I know I have a lot of childhood memories of my grandparents, and they came from a generation and the way that they were raised, and that they still carried on that farming lifestyle. So I was raised around that, and I'm so glad that I was. So I did get to experience a lot of that old-fashioned way of life that even people from the generation today, I think, miss out on a lot more. Of course, there are still, like I said, there are still people that live that way, that grow their gardens and, you know, milk their cows and things like that. But it just seems like there's fewer and fewer people living that way. And so I am glad that I got to experience that as a kid. My grandparents had a milk cow that they would milk early in the morning. And so, you know, sometimes I would go out with my grandpa, or I called him Papa, and would milk the cow. But I can remember even as a child, my granny and Papa's house, it evoked the farmhouse style, even though they actually lived that way. I mean, it was just kind of ingrained in them. And so I really, it's just a feeling that I have grown up loving. And so the older I get, the more I think crave that feeling, and it just makes me feel homey to have those farmhouse touches in my home. And so I think that's why I love it the most, is because of my childhood upbringing. And of course, my other set of grandparents, they were also country people, and always had a huge garden in the summers. And but my grandma, well, both of my grandma and my granny would do canning, but my grandma always made the best bread and butter pickles. That was my favorite thing that she would can, that and her beets. And so I just have those memories from my childhood about that lifestyle. And so I think that's why I love it most. But to talk about some of the ways that you can incorporate and evoke that farm lifestyle into your home. Like, I like to collect the ironstone dishes, which is farmhouse style era. I also like to collect crocks. I like to use crocks and crock bowls and those type of collectibles. I like to actually use them in my house to hold fruit. Even just for display. But there are many ways that you can evoke that old-fashioned farmhouse feel into your home. By choosing vintage style lighting, whether you find an old, you know, an actual vintage crystal chandelier in an antique shop, or, you know, there are plenty that you can buy new that look like that style, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like the original vintage thing. If it looks good and it's just what I'm needing to go in a certain spot in my house, and it's not actually an original vintage piece, I'm not against getting it and using it for a purpose like that. And actually, like all of our lighting that we put in this house, you know, none of it's actually vintage, but I did try to go with the vintage lighting look. Other ways that you can add a classic farmhouse feel to your house is by adding peg rails or metal hooks to walls, and hanging your aprons or everyday tools or utensils or pots that you may use on a daily basis. You know, because the farmhouse look is really not fancy by no means. It was practical, and so everything I try to do, I try to give it that practical look. I mean, I want things to be pretty, but they have to be practical and comfortable. The classic farmhouse style is practical and comfortable and also pretty to me. So those are the things that I love and think of when it comes to a classic farmhouse.